Hi, I'm Jim.
And I'm David.
And this is the Practical Guitarist Podcast.
The podcast for people who eat, sleep, and breathe guitar. The Practical Guitarist Podcast is brought to you by Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Great Lakes Guitar Pickups provides fantasy tones at prices a practical guitarist will love. Featuring top-notch construction, attention to detail, and a fully custom product, if you can dream it, Great Lakes Guitar Pickups can probably build it. Follow them on Facebook at facebook.com/Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Are you a regular listener? Why not? David here reminding you of all the ways you can participate in the Practical Guitarist Podcast. Subscribe using your chosen podcast app. Review us on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or Google Play. Find our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Practical Guitarist or on Twitter as @PractGuitarist. Support the show. Merchandise is available in our Threadless store at practicalguitaristpodcast.threadless.com. And donate to us via Patreon, available at patreon.com/practicalguitarist. Reach out to us directly via email at questions@practicalguitarist.com.
Hello, David.
I should probably get my microphone down in front of me, huh?
Yeah, you were a little distant.
I'm going to have to goose the volume in post. Hello, Jim.
Hello, David. My volume should be fine.
Yes. Jim is referring to the fact that the microphone was 3 feet in the air. So, whoops.
So, we have a new segment, which I don't know if we called it this, but it's getting a name now in our podcast called Tales from Guitar Center. This should be fun.
It's oddly Halloween centric.
Yes. And since Halloween is coming, as a matter of fact, you guys will hear this, the day before Halloween, right?
Well, it'll come out Wednesday, but most people probably listen on Thursday. So
yeah. So anyway, Tales from Guitar Center. Woo! All right, so here we go. Okay, so I have a couple of tales. I have a few tales from Guitar Center, and this will take a few minutes. So buckle up, boys and girls, and whatever else, because we're gonna have some fun. Okay. First one. This poor one comes in, and I have a sense of humor. You know me, I'll laugh about anything. So this woman comes in. She's got a one of those Digitech hardwired, or not hardwired, Bad Monkey, or something monkey. So
she had the Bad Monkey. Okay.
It was a really heavy metal drive thing she had.
No, that's not the Bad Monkey.
It's
Bad Monkey's a tube screamer.
I want to say hard. It wasn't the hardwired. It was red, but it was like the
It was a Hardwire series pedal.
Yeah, the Hardwire series pedal. But I don't remember the name of it. Anyway, she comes in with it and she plays acoustic guitar.
Oh, I know what it was. It was the Hot Rod Distortion.
That's it.
I know. Yeah.
She comes in, she's got her hands, and she can't speak but maybe 5 words of English. The poor woman. And she comes in, and her daughter is translating for her. Her daughter's this little hyper 5-year-old. She's all over the place. She's so excited. She's loving, and she loves being a translator. I can see her in the future being a professional translator. She was so good and so sweet, but so funny and so
she has
charming.
All of the power.
Yes, so charming. So she comes up to and she goes, "My mommy doesn't know how to." I thought that she was being a little smartass kid, because that's what my kids would do. And she goes, "My mommy bought this pedal and she doesn't know how to use it." and she goes, "She doesn't know what wire to put where." And I said,
"Well then." And
I looked at her and I said, I looked her mom straight in the eye and I said, "She's being very helpful, isn't she?" And her mother just nods and smiles like this. Yes, she is. And then later I find out it's because she didn't understand a thing I said. So I was like, oh my God, I felt so bad. And then she proceeds to the little girl proceeds to explain that her mother speaks primarily Portuguese and she doesn't understand anything I'm going to say. So then I'm trying to help. I'm going to sell her a power supply. I get from the kid that she wants a power supply. And I said, you put the input here and you put the output here. So the guitar goes in here. She didn't have any wires.
She didn't even have cable.
And I'm like, what the? Come to find out, so I got a guy who speaks Spanish at least. Now anybody who knows Portuguese is not Spanish,
but it's
not the
close
same
enough that
language,
they can
but
usually
it's
figure out what's going on.
closer, right? And so they were able to kind of, with the little girl in the middle, they were kind of. But the little girl was so excited. Oh, this strap is pretty. Oh, this album cover is pretty. This, because they were standing over by where we had record albums, and then we had all the stuff that you sell, like that's gift material, like coffee mugs and T-shirts and stuff like that. So she was easily distracted. And so anyway, come to find out, she didn't need the pedal. She's playing an acoustic guitar without an amplifier.
And she's wondering
why we don't need why we don't need a pedal. She thought she was going to get sound out of the pedal. She thought she could just put headphones on and sound come out of the pedal.
No, but that's not going to mute the guitar either. This one's all sorts of messed up, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a fun story. The next one, it was pretty cool. So the repair guy is working on this acoustic bass. And this one's titled The Acoustic Bass Nightmare.
Oh my gosh. So
the customer had bought it looked like one of those Ibanez, the big body acoustic
right.
Not a stand-up people who think it's a stand-up bass. That's a completely different thing. That's but anyway, one of the acoustic basses. So he brings it in. He had glued first, he had taken his bass. Your bass strings are pretty big, right?
Yeah, generally.
But he had taken his saddle, or his bridge in this case, and he had decided he was going to lower the action, and to do so, he was just going to drill down into that thing. So it's
Jim, describe my facial expression right now.
Yeah, David is sitting here going, "What?"
My jaw is on the floor. Yeah. I'm like, for real? Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you just file the saddle down? This seems like an awful lot of work for a little bit of.
It looks like he tried to do it right in the beginning, because the whole thing was just like he had just taken an X-Acto and just ripped through it. And then there were these, instead of it being like you take the string, if you don't have the proper tool, you take the string and you kind of ease it in.
Oh, so this is so you're talking about the bridge slot.
Right, the slot in the bridge.
Okay, so you're not he took a
wait, it's worse with the bridge. What he did to the bridge.
So are we talking about the nut or the bridge here?
We're talking about the bridge, not the nut. Right. So usually you would do that with the nut, right?
Well, that's why I'm like, that's not going to do anything if you have a bridge. I mean, that's even worse. So he took a drill.
He had taken the bridge, and it looked like what he had done at first was take an X-Acto, because it looked like, when you work with, if you ever work with meerschaum or anything like that, it's pliable stuff that you can make little figurines and stuff with. It looked like he had tried to do something like that with the bridge saddle. And then he had instead of using the string because you can get your thing down a little bit by just getting the string back, but just like in the nut on an acoustic.
I mean, you can
get a little lower.
But in all honesty,
you shouldn't. Yeah. Okay. So because it gets worse, he instead of having at least semicircles, like little smiley faces, and he had cut deep V's in it.
What?
And then wait, I can't stop laughing, people. That's why I'm coughing, because it gets better. So he must have worn it in or cut it in so much that it buzzed too much. So he had to raise it. So when our tech, I'll call him John because that's his name. When our tech John finally got the bridge, because the guy glued it down. You don't glue those bridges.
Yeah.
he was, so he glued it
falls out every time I take the strings off.
Yeah, because you so he had glued it in, and because he had taken so much off the top of it and probably realized he got it too low, he had put a bass string, the part you cut off, and he had glued it in the slot under the bone.
And let me guess, he didn't use something that was heat soluble, so you couldn't even just heat it up and pull it out.
Exactly. It took forever.
Honestly, if I was the repair guy, I would have been like, all right, new bridge.
Oh, yeah.
Scrape the body.
He said, this guy's getting charged a little bit extra.
Oh, but a little bit.
I'll bet you it took an extra hour to get the thing out.
And honestly, I would have been like, look, dude, we're gonna sand down the top, get it where it needs to be, and then we're gonna put a new bridge on it.
All for about 3 inches of wire, literally. And so anyway, he had taken it out. Thought he got it out to find this, like, because it's just like when you take a tire that you've gone to a tire repair, right? And the tire repair place, you would put in that fix a flat.
Yeah.
What fix a flat is, for those who don't know, it's just rubber that goes in there and just goes. And so when the person goes to take your tire off,
yeah,
it's just a rubbery mess because and so they some places will charge you extra if you've used fix a flat. So you definitely want to, you don't want to tell them because they got to scrape all that crap off.
Oh, they're gonna know immediately when they open up the tire.
Oh yeah, but I don't know how that happens. But
you only use fix the flat if you're in the last 10,000 miles of your tires.
So anyway, he got this thing playing beautifully, but he must have taken 2.5 hours on this thing. We should have been a quick pull it off, give a little love.
Right.
I have seen some stuff come off of fingerboard since I've been working there.
Oh yeah.
That I was like, I don't know what this person is doing.
That's disgusting.
Guitar. That is gross. Are they eating Taco Bell? Are they eating, like, are there people that actually eat Cheetos and play the guitar at the same time? That's what I'm wondering.
Yes.
Because that's what I'm seeing.
Dude, I've been at rehearsals before where somebody's eating like a cheeseburger while they're playing. What? And you're just like, dude, you just put new strings on there. Like, what are you doing?
That's the grossest thing I can think of. Well, so anyway, that was a fun thing. So, all right. Now staying with the repair guy, because he's a really nice guy. He's a Swedish person, he's a really nice guy. This kid comes in, and his mom comes in with the kid. Now, mom and dad obviously have some money because they bought son a starter guitar. Guess what this starter guitar was?
PRS.
No, but almost. It was a Prestige, an Ibanez Prestige, left-handed. This thing had to be a special order. Yep. With a Floyd Rose-esque, their locking tremolo, right? Because they don't use Floyd Rose. They use
they have their own. It's the same thing. All
right. So the kid comes in and she says, I need to return this guitar. It won't stay in tune. And we're like, okay, when did you buy it? July. Okay. How many times you changed the strings on it? Well, he hasn't. He only plays it 3 hours a week, and that's at practice.
What do you mean? Let me. This is my next question. What do you mean it doesn't stay in tune?
Okay, well, it gets better. Gets better.
Yeah.
So, and he dropped it, so it's got a chip in it.
Oh now, no, you can't take it back now.
No, but it doesn't matter. They bought the Asurian, stuff. They could do their thing. They have to call. Now, this is the thing that they don't explain to you that they should when you buy this. You have to call that number, just like with your cell phone. Because believe it or not, the same company that does your cell phone, that does the TVs you buy at Walmart, that does everything else.
Yeah,
it's the same company.
Actually, yeah, it's not Guitar Center that's providing that.
It's Asurian. They still do a very good job, by the way. They will still cover you, but what they do is they have you then take it to us. But now they give you a number to bring to us to say, hey, this is our Asurian number. This is, right, that you bill against. And that way they can fix the little chip. He put a little chip in the guitar. It wasn't huge, but it is right there.
Yeah.
I think what he did was he tried to strum it with like a screwdriver or something. I mean, he didn't drop it and get a chip like right under the E string where there's no pick guard.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know, but they were good enough to get the insurance, and so it doesn't matter how it happened. It could be his dog ate it. It doesn't make a difference.
Right.
But here's the funny thing. So somebody had sold this kid a very high end, and I would have made the sale too, but I would have explained one thing. If it's your first guitar and you're getting a locking nut and a locking bridge, a whole locking system, I don't think that I would have sold it to a first timer if I knew they were buying the Insurance, because sure enough, they come back and they demand, they're like, no, you have to get it back to where it can play. Like, that's not our job. That's not our job. We do not tune your guitar. We do not set up your bridge. That is your job. You bought that bridge. You set it up. But our tech, he had clocked out already, took and spent an hour and 15 minutes with this kid, even though he didn't have to do anything. Could have told him, pack sand, get the hell out. He sat there and showed him how to do it. And then, even though he told him he's not going to get paid for this, he set the guitar, he set the Floyd Rose back into, or their thing back in. But he said, here's the thing, because he didn't change the strings, because that would have been, he said, you need to sit down and watch these YouTube videos so that you can learn how to change the strings. If you have any questions, you can come ask me questions. But I'll have to be paid if you want me to change your strings. That's how this worked. So, and he was very good about it. Made sure he took care of it. I had sold a Dean ML earlier in the day, with the lightning bolts and stuff on it. And I explained to the dad, I said, I just want you to understand. He bought the Insurance. I said, I want you to understand that is not covered, but you're going to want to watch some videos, because that is not an easy bridge to set up and not an easy string to set up. And I said, whatever you do, don't try to tune it up there. You tune it down here and so on and so forth. So I did walk it through him because it was his first one. So that was called the high-end starter guitar. I thought that was cool. I saw a 10-string guitar come in. A guy had set up. Yeah. If you want to spend $150 to $200 on a setup on your guitar,
good way to do it.
Do that, because by the way, you can't just grab a set of 10-string strings off the show. You can order them.
Well, you guys don't sell individuals, right?
Not that would reach 10 strings, because I think the biggest 10 string is what? It's closing in on.
Well, no, you would have to buy bass strings in addition to
bass strings,
single strings. So, but I didn't know that Guitar Center was still doing single strings. Like, a lot of chain stores have stopped doing that.
They'll sell single strings. They will do it
for certain brands.
Yes, for certain brands. You're not going to get a Dario NYXL.
Yeah, because they're not individually packaged. We'll talk about that. That's something to talk about later in the show.
Yeah, they won't. And yeah, so I can't tell you the number of people who come in broken their E string, and they want to return the guitar because they don't know how to change an E string. Anyway, so then I met a thing I'd never seen before, an inverted. A guy brought in this bass, right? It was a Fedora, and those who know basses, they're really high end, and it had strap locks on it, Dunlop strap locks on it. Okay, that's no big deal. Have you ever heard of inverted Dunlop strap locks? So they make one where you literally bore the hole out and you put the whole thing down in
it goes into the guitar.
In the guitar, so it's flush. And here's what's funny. So I sold him because all he needed was the part that goes on the strap, right?
Right.
But we only sell both sides. You got to get both sides.
Yeah.
But he was like, that's no problem. So he bought it. He puts it on. It works. Hey, that's great. Then after work, I go out to open mic and I'm sitting down having a beer, and there he is on stage with his dad. And he gets off and he goes, "Hey, I know you. You sold me these. I'm so grateful, man. It worked out, because he was playing on stage with his dad."
Awesome.
So I thought that was pretty cool. And the last one I have is So I met a bass I'd never heard of, and guitar company I'd never heard of. It's called Esh, E-S-H.
Never heard of it myself.
Okay, so this band that plays them, there's a specific band, and our really hardcore metal guys would know. Look up an Esh Stinger.
Oh, okay.
And
what?
You know the band?
No,
Yeah.
I'm looking at so basically it's an Iceman.
Basically, for $2,000
Oh,
to $2,500, and they literally just came to the United States. But when this guy got his, and pretty much for the most part, because like Chapman, they've got a very small numbers. You got to go to Germany to get them, and so he's trying to make
these
what's
look
the band's
like,
name? The heavy metal band's name?
I don't know, but they look like Framus equivalent stuff.
Yeah, they're high end. Anyway, they're trying to build a band based on those guys, and so he's buying all the gear that they have. And we've talked about that before. I wanted to, I was wearing my Tone T-shirt.
Yeah, the hierarchy.
Our hierarchy of tone.
Mm-hmm. The tone pyramid.
And I said, yep. And I said, this right here. I said that guitar is not the most important thing. Then I had our repair guy, John. He goes, "You're missing one thing from your hierarchy of tone." I said, "What's that? Your pyramid of tone?" I said, "What's that?" He goes, "The most important part." I said, "No,
the fingers.
That's the person wearing it." Yeah. So that was pretty fun.
No, tone is not in the fingers, folks.
No.
Tone is not technique. It's not the same thing. What are you drinking?
So anyway, I am Diet Dr. Pepper. Diet Dr. Pepper. So, and it's shaped like a football. See, it's got the football thing.
I can't tell because the connection's so bad tonight, like the camera's going in and
so
out.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So I let go of my church gig.
Yeah.
I didn't feel, how do I say this?
You didn't feel the spirit?
No, I feel the spirit. I didn't feel that I was the right person. It's I don't think solo acoustic guitar is right for that. Unless you're like a flamenco or a classical guitarist. Because they do very traditional hymns. Mm-hmm. And this week I had all the hymns ready, and then Saturday while I'm at Guitar Center working, I get a text. Can you learn these songs for tomorrow because our pastor wants to do these two songs? And I'm like, I just spent a week learning other stuff. And I get home and I'm like, great. So sight reading to the rescue. I went, I did it. The pastor, thanked me, and I said, I appreciate it very much, but this is my last week. I'm not gonna be able to do it anymore. So, yep.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to hear that. But I know that stuff's tough, and it's a lot of work involved. Like I don't think anybody realizes until they've actually done it how much work being a worship leader actually involves. Like you got to prepare all the music. If you've got a band, you got to get them all in the same place to rehearse. That organization level, if you've ever had a band, it's the same thing, just for Saturday and Sunday service,
And unlike the band, you can't say, "Oh, Fred got ill, so we'll take a week off." You can't take a week off.
Yeah, you don't really get that ability to. It's kind of like being the house band for somewhere, which not a lot of people get to do that, but
And for those who do the every week thing, being in a band, like if you're in a Christian band where if you're not the linchpin, like a lot of these groups, they have revolving musicians. They revolve through people on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Where I'm the only one. I'm the vocalist. I'm the musician. I pick the music. I have to set up everything. I have to coordinate with the person to get the music into the. I'm every bit of the worship leader and the worship team.
Right.
So it was all on my shoulders, and it was just too much. It was crumbling. And the reason that I went to church was fading into, all right, if you don't do this, you're not going to get a paycheck.
Right.
Because any other week, if I was feeling it, if it was feeling under and just crushed, church is the way I could release. But this church was the reason I felt like I was being crushed.
Right. Yeah, I think you got to have like a certain kind of aptitude to be able to get through that situation, and you've got to really be devoted to doing just that.
Yeah.
And with you having the new job and also
Yeah.
your regular band
Band.
commitments and stuff, I
Yep.
mean that's going to be tough.
Yep.
So I don't know, man. Like I'm sad to hear it, but at the same time, like I think you're in the right place. I don't think anybody
Right.
wants to see. We've all met a worship leader at some point who's like
Yep.
in that boat and they're just doing it because
Yep.
it's an obligation, whether it's financial
Right.
or not. I mean, it's just an obligation at that point, and they're like going through the motions.
And I'm call me idealistic, but I don't believe that money should be the reason that you do worship.
No, I don't think so either. But I understand.
Not the central reason.
I understand. Like if you're into it and you're making more money and you're going to different churches because they're like they need somebody who's got the spirit per se. I mean, I guess that's a commodity, but I still kind of take issue with that. It's like, wait a minute. Why should this guy get paid more because he, feels the need to commune with God more? Like that's messed up.
Right. I get that. Okay. If you're a Hillsong, I almost said Hilltop. Hillsong, that's an area of Virginia Beach, by the way.
Yeah.
If you're a Hillsong musician and people are paying you to go church to church to church,
right,
and they're doing all this stuff, I get it because it's a part of the thing, and it does cost money. There are costs involved. There are things you got to do, and you give up your time.
Oh yeah,
you give up your to do this.
Yeah, and in the
so
bigger churches, like the rehearsal
job.
time, they have to compensate you because you would like have to not have a job in some cases. I mean,
right, exactly. You would not have a quote unquote day job. You are doing this, and that's all you do. I'm not a person who gives lessons and can go, okay, I can rotate things and move things around for the
I cannot stand that. That just stresses me out when I have to juggle my schedule like that.
Right. And so that's why for me it was becoming work, and I go to worship, not to work, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So it you can call me idealistic, you can call me a fool, you can call me whatever, but I felt that they said to me, they said, "Well, you're not quitting, are you?" And I said, "No, I think I just need to breathe a bit." And because I think that there were some people in the parish, because of the reasons that I wound up there in the first place, that thought that maybe it was a repeat of the last individual. I was like, no, that's not. I don't have anything like that. I don't have any bad feelings. I don't have any, there's no overarching reasoning. It's just.
You think it's a better direction for them as well as yourself, right?
Right, and so we got an organist. We found an organist, and that's
awesome.
That's the thing to do.
All right, let's switch gears. So
let's switch gears.
We covered the what the hell happened to Guitar Center this week. We covered the what the hell happened in your church this week. What the hell's happening in my life right now?
Nobody cares.
No one really cares. I mean, my wall's still screwed up. My floors are still screwed up. I'm still fighting, with the association.
Is that a toilet or a sink sitting in your living room?
No, that thing that's right behind me, that's a laundry hamper.
Oh, okay.
So
it looks like a sink.
Jim can't see this, but like directly behind me, there is like a pile of stuff, and it's all stuff that came out of the living room and is in my office area right now. Because I have no place to put it, and frankly, we need to keep the cement floors open in case of more flooding. We did have heavy rain last night and yesterday, all day yesterday. I didn't have any water come in, so it was good. Good. Which, I figured they fixed the drain. It's all great now. But I'm just, I'm fighting to get, the work done and get it done in a timely manner because we're heading towards winter. So I don't really want to be messing around with this in the winter. No. Particularly with my walls exposed. It's going to get pretty chilly in here pretty quick. So nevertheless, they're supposed to come out and take a look at that this week. But along with all those woes, and we talked about my financial woes last week. Moving on for the car, that's taken care of. That's done and over with. My car should be paid off at this point. I haven't logged into the account to check, but it'll either be paid off now or it'll be paid off like a Monday, Tuesday. So
here's a funny story for you. Hold on, I got to tell you this because it's just funny. So I pay my car off, right? And they got a number. They say payoff is. So I put that in. I put that money, transfer it into the thing, and then it said that more was due, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't big, but it was $1.28. But I'm like, are you kidding me? You are nickel and diming me for $1.28 after all this time?
Yeah, dude. They want $1.28 for the interest on the day you pay it.
I get the feeling that that's what it was. Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. I got my payoff letter and I looked at it and it basically says like $2.37 per day post a payoff letter. Like so I sold the car. They said they're taking care of it. So I'm like, you know what? If you're going to come back to me over $10, I'm just going to slap you and be like, you know what, dude? You just bought like a $12,000 car. Like, just deal with it. Just eat the $10. Well, like, it's fine.
They're supposed to give you a 10-day payoff.
Well, that's what it is. It's a 10-day payoff, but then there's a per interest per day charge in addition to that. So that's the way I've always seen payoff letters. Like, so maybe they didn't do that 20 years ago, but they're doing that now, and they have, for the last 10 years at least.
Oh no, they've done it all the time. What they do is they say if you pay it off in 10 days, that's how this is because typically what happens is they actually overcharge you on purpose.
Right.
They say here's the 10-day payoff, and they'll build in 10 days of interest into it.
Right.
And then at the end of that 10 days, if you have to go 11, 12, 13, that's why they say, and any interest would be this many dollars per day.
That's
after that.
Yeah, I've seen it where it's like basically like any day after the receipt of the letter, you pay an additional like $2, including the date of the letter. So really the payoff amount they give you is like $1.87 short or something stupid like that.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. $1.28.
Yeah, well, it's better than like an early termination fee or something crazy like that.
Yeah,
that stuff's crazy. I'm glad the days of that stuff are starting to wax and wane. It doesn't seem like most loans are doing that anymore. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. We could do a whole episode on how to buy a car for musicians.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Because, well, first off, every musician I've ever met has bought the wrong car for being a musician.
I have one, and it's the wrong car.
And they just don't like this. Just doesn't enter into our equation because we're cheap, right? But then the other thing is like we have a tendency to not know how to. We can negotiate for instruments till we're blue in the face, but when you sit down and negotiate a car deal, again, I've had conversations with other musicians. I'm like, you did what? Like, that's not how you do that, So maybe that's a topic for another day. We'll cover that. But anyway, so I got all that stuff going on. My financial situation being what it is. I'm playing with Old Stumpy, which is like folky, poppy, rock, and blues and country music, right? So I played my Kiesel 7-string at the last gig.
Okay.
I obviously have strats, right? Like I could have brought my S500, but I didn't want to mess around with my patches and the Kemper to match that guitar because I knew if I mucked around with it the day of the show, like I was going to have a nightmare.
Right.
So now we're kind of settling in. The next gig's in late November, and I'm trying to figure out, do I want to go get a Telecaster before the next gig? And there are a couple of reasons for that. So I want a cheap Telecaster, right? I don't want anything like an Affinity Tele would be fine because I don't want anything that I'm going to care about. I know that seems absolutely insane, but I want something that like if it gets knocked off the stand, I can laugh and be like, "Oh, buy another one," Jim, you're pointing at your Affinity Tele. I know, but we're going to get there.
No.
We're going to get there.
Oh, okay.
I'm not buying your Affinity Tele. No.
No, I don't want you to buy mine.
Okay. All right. And that's the thing. So I've been on Reverb and I've been on eBay the last couple of days, just looking at teles, like not just affinities, but like standards, Squire affinities, G&L ASATs, the classic ASAT, which is like in similar ballpark price wise. I don't want to spend more than $300. And there's a logic to that. Like this is a guitar that I want to be able to spill beer on it and not care about. Be like, oh, wipe it off and just play.
I wouldn't spend more than $200 on it. Keep going.
Well, because I want something that's playable, right? And that's that's basically what it boils down to. Playable, and it's going to have a little bit of roadworthiness in the sense that it's not going to get destroyed if somebody does that. Like I'd like to be able to, if I had to swap a neck, I could do that, keep on trucking and that kind of stuff. Because, you can get a Squire Affinity neck for $60.
Oh, yeah.
So
get a Squire Affinity for $60.
No. And that's where I'm going with this. So I've been on Reverb and I've been trolling around. I found some really cool guitars. But you know what I found? Squire owners seem to think their guitars are worth way more than they are.
Some of these people, like Epiphone owners too.
Oh, dude, I kid you not. If you go on Reverb right now, look at Classic Vibes used, you will find every Classic Vibe on Reverb used is like $375 to $400. That's new price, folks. That is the new price. No, I am not. I am not. Because I've been and I found out why, and it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because so this is the reason they're expensive on Reverb. They're out of stock at Sweetwater. So you can't go to Sweetwater and order one. But I could probably go to Guitar Center and order one. Or, some other music. So I'm like scratching my head. I'm like, wait a minute. Does Sweetwater really own the business that much that, people are like, oh, they're out of Sweetwater. They must be sold out all over the United States. There's a lot of Squire dealers out there. I mean, like, you can find them. It's not hard. Trust me. But anyway, these guys, they're taking the intrepid approach of, well, they couldn't find it on Sweetwater, so we'll just price it at $375 with $50 or $60 shipping. By the way, if you order from Sweetwater, you're getting free shipping. $375 with $60 shipping. So wait, I'm paying more than new at that point.
Yeah,
and I didn't believe it at first. I was like, oh, they're just expecting you to make a lowball offer and then they'll accept it. But then I got to thinking, and I was looking around, and I found one that didn't even have naked offer turned on for $375 with $60 shipping. I was like, what? Who's buying this? And then they explicitly state in the ad, like, we'll ship in box, does not have, case or whatever. And I'm like, seriously? Now I know Squires don't come with a case, but really? $375, $60 shipping, and you're not even going to throw in a cheapy gig bag. Like, what? In what world is this okay? So I started reaching out to some of these guys.
And you got to pay tax on it.
I started messaging and reaching out to some of these people. And I'm like, all right, hey, these guitars really aren't worth this much. If you look at the sold items, you'll see that they go for around $300. What's it going to take to make that happen? $300, $25 shipping, $30 shipping, and virtually no one responded. I did find one, which I'm balking on, and we'll get to that I really liked. It had been customized to all hell. I mean, it was a deal, right? But I was like looking at it, I'm like, I better read up on this because there's a reason that this is a deal. So what I found out, which I didn't know, dummy me, I'm not into Telecasters, so there's a good reason why I didn't know this. We know that the Telecaster pickups are non-standard. They're not Alnico. They have like ceramic bar magnets. They're kind of funky, right? Like they're not like real tele pickups. And from my understanding, the Bullet tele pickups are basically the same deal. But what I found that was really interesting, Jim, is if you look and you find, let's say you find a 09 Affinity tele, the bridge is in a different place. It's not in a different place. That's the funny part. They've used like funky bridges on those guitars, and they're not replaceable. You have to get an Affinity tele bridge to have a drop-in bridge, because to what I found, like Googling around and taking a look, they're using a non-standard bridge. They're not string-through bodies, so you'd have to, if you're going to get a string-through body bridge, you'd have to actually drill the holes and add the ferrules.
Ferrules,
yeah.
Yep.
And that sounds like more trouble than it's worth. And the other thing is, like, I was thinking, well, I could upgrade this thing over time. I could put a Babix bridge on it or whatever. That's not going to happen. So now I'm looking at Classic Vibes. And I'm looking at standards, because I think standards have, I need to find that out before I would buy one, but I think they have a standard bridge as well. And it's one of those quirky, stupid things where it's like, why would they do that? Well, because they wanted to cripple the ability to upgrade that guitar. They figure if the holes aren't pre-drilled, then you're going to move up rather than try to upgrade the existing guitar, which is okay. But I'm just saying, for all these guys that are doing these videos where they're, just put new pickups in it and it'll be just as good as the real deal, you are on drugs, okay? Because you're missing not just tonal variation, but you're missing things like the quality of parts. Will it rust out? Is it going to be playable in 10 years? I would say most guitars, even your Squier stuff, will be playable in 10 years. But I'm saying, like, if you have to replace something, are you going to be able to? Because that's a huge deal. Like Affinity Tele bridges, there's probably going to be an aftermarket modding community for that eventually. But right now, there's not. So if you wanted, like, I was reading, some guy did do an upgrade, and he went through all this trouble to find like the measurements, and he had to put his existing bridge saddles that are calipers and everything else, so he could find compatible saddles for his Telecaster, for his Affinity Telecaster bridge. I'm like, dude, it's more trouble than it's worth. Spend the extra $50 or $100 and get a standard, because then you won't have to worry about it. But here's the funny thing. So if you look at Fender's offerings right now, I'm going to pull them up so we can talk about it. If you look at Fender's offerings right now on Telecasters from the Squier line, you will find, and I'm pulling it up, so you'll have to bear with me while I'm doing this, but you will find that there's an extremely limited selection of colors in certain models. And this is done for a reason. So it's just an interesting observation I made. So if we go and look, Squier Tellies starting at $199. So the Bullet, and that's funny too, because they say that starter Tellies is starting at $199. The Bullet is $169. So even their website's wrong. We actually found a couple of spelling errors in their websites too, which is even more interesting. So like an Affinity Telecaster, right? It comes in orange, it comes in Olympic white, it comes in red, and it comes in, I want to say, I'm not seeing a burst, but I think they do a sunburst on that. I may be wrong. It may be solid color only. Silver, green, orange. They do a sunburst. And then they do the really bad looking butterscotch and black, white. So there's a couple of colors, right, for the Affinity series, right? Here's where it gets interesting. So if we look at the so they killed the standard series. You can still get standards, which I find interesting.
Yeah, there's a guy selling one here locally.
So
because they were made in Indonesia.
Yeah, but
$300.
So there's no intermediate series anymore.
Nope.
All right. Fair enough. That makes a lot more sense, because I'm like, why is the standard only available in 2 colors? And for all intents and purposes, that's exactly what they did. I mean, there was a white and there was a butterscotch and the white, the see-through white, which actually I kind of like that one. But then the rest of the line is humbucker tellies, which, I don't understand the appeal of that. Do 1 or 2, not 4. Which they've done 8 actually. I think they've done 8. Sounds right.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's some Chris Shiflett or something that has a signature one.
Yeah.
Is it Shiflett? And I don't get it.
So the classic vibes, they're available right now. They're $350 for the 50s version, and then $400 for the 60s. I know they're decent guitars. Like, I've had my hands on a couple of them already. I like, that's a lot of money for a guitar that I just want as a beater. And I don't want to buy. So here's the thing. I don't want to buy a Harley Benton. I want it to look right. I want it to, have some pedigree, which sounds ridiculous for it being a beater, right? But the other thing is, like, Harley Bentons have no resale value. So if I had to get out from under this, I could. And the other thing is, like, I've always kind of wanted to. I've had an Affinity Tele before, but I'd kind of like to get another one. I sold the one I had to get something else, and like, I didn't miss it when I sold it, and I really don't miss it now, but I still have to scratch that itch, and like, it's there. So I mean, yeah, I could get a Harley Benton, but I'm gonna pay $110. It's gonna come from,
plus $36.
Plus $36 shipping. It's gonna come from Germany, which means I'm gonna wait 2 months to get it. By that time, I don't know where this gig is even gonna go. So I don't know. And then the other part of me is like, I'm kind of slapping myself. I got an old white, Olympic white. I think it's Olympic white. Jimmy Vaughn Strat, right? That I don't play. I could just take this money and go put a neck on it, and then be like off to the races. Granted, that guitar is worth almost $800 now. So do I really want to do that? It's kind of
Well, taking the nice thing about taking the neck off the Jimmy Vaughn Strat, doing whatever you want, you can always put the neck back on it and sell it.
Sure.
But I think that
but
the biggest
it's not going to be a
problem,
beater then, because then I'm going to be like,
Right.
this is, and plus
No,
I
it
also have
won't.
sentimental value attached to this guitar.
right?
That's,
No, it won't. And
that's a big no-go. But
So
do I need it at all?
that's-
You know what I mean? Like, do I even need a
Right.
telly? Like, can I do this stuff without it?
Well, here's my thing. So I've got the Affinity, obviously. Mine was a scratch and
Right.
dent. I was lucky. I had walked
That's what I was
in.
hoping to get used. Is like something that got been beat up or like modified to the point where somebody didn't want it anymore.
Here's the problem with them. They don't last long on the used market. They just don't. The ones that are overpriced, you're right.
They'll sit for months.
For whatever reason, the Squire Classic vibes sit on the used market in our area too forever. Yet I can walk into a store and watch them churn Affinities and what's the next one up?
The
The
standards.
There's another one. The Standard, which are gone. But in the used market, they're still going
I'm
around.
waiting for Squire to relaunch the standards.
They're churning those things out left and right. And there's a new Classic 5 series coming, which is why I don't understand why the people with the current that's why Sweetwater is out and Guitar Center's only got like one.
Well, that's
color
what I'm looking at. So like a lot of the ones I'm seeing, I guess these have already appeared and then the run is empty.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some of them used that have the appointments like the new ones. So
right. And so why would you buy that and then sell it that fast?
It doesn't make any sense. And
it's not like it's not like it's a collector's market.
I was just gonna say this is not a market where, oh my gosh, like we need these so bad that I'm gonna pay a premium because there's none available.
Exactly. So what did Fender has announced those, right? I saw Andertons had done a thing on them.
They've been because they're listed as new on their website right now.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So you can go to a Telecaster and it kills me, Squire. First of all, yep, you're right. So they're at $400. And that's like you said, when you get done paying shipping and stuff, you're only saving like $25. I can go in and get somebody to give me that deal at Guitar Center.
Well, yeah,
I can get, as a regular consumer, I could walk in and get $30 off. I get these things for $40. I can get them for $360 all day long.
So I just said that the butterscotch, right, is $350 because they lowered the price. They did.
Yep.
And so here's a butterscotch one for $350. They're $400 on the used market. Like,
that's insane.
Well, wait a minute. What?
That's insane. I can get I'm talking about the highest end, the $399,
like the
Classic
60s
Vibe,
Classic
Telecaster Thin Line, or the 70s Vibe.
I don't want that.
And no, I'm just saying I can get that thing. That's $400. I can walk into Guitar Center any day of the week and get that thing for
I mean,
for $340.
I can call up my rep at Sweetwater and get the same deal. That's why I'm like, I don't understand.
So why would you do that?
I don't know. Because people are dumb. And this is we've talked about this in the show before. There's always somebody willing to take advantage of dumb people, but I'm just not that person. Like I have no desire to do that, and I'm not going to be a victim of it either. So if that means I don't get one, I don't get one. I don't really care. Other gear stuff, like we need to talk about what Strymon did this week.
Oh, and yeah. So
I'm going to inject my own opinion, but I want to make this very clear. I haven't touched this product yet. But I want to talk about the launch of the product and not so much the product itself. I mean, it's going to come up as part of the discussion, but I want to talk about how they launched this thing. So it gets leaked, right? Somebody posted on the Chicago Music Exchange website on accident, and then it comes up in search results. Now, somebody knew to search for this. So my guess is this was leaked before by somebody else in the community that passed it on to their buddy, and then their buddy found it, and then their buddy leaked it. Like, it's one of those kind of deals. Jim, you're working for Guitar Center. You find out about stuff before it happens all the time.
Right. Yep.
And so and I've been privy to a lot of this stuff too, but I do my duty not to screw the people that tell me these things. So I'm not going to talk about this stuff before it happens. But so I'm looking at this thing, the Iridium, right? First thing I want to point out, Amp One already has an Iridium. Or is it Blue Guitar?
Yeah.
Amp One Iridium edition.
Blue Guitar. Blue Guitar, Amp One Iridium.
Now, I don't think he'll sue them, but he probably has a pretty good case if he does, because his existed before theirs did in the public spectrum or whatever. His was announced at NAMM. So, sorry, Strymon, new name. The other thing is, they announced this thing, it gets leaked. 24 hours later, videos go up, right? So the embargo ends, and Strymon posts, I think it's 2 or 3 videos on this thing. So what the Iridium is, if you're not familiar, it's a 3-channel pedal that does 3 different amps, right? 3 amp sounds. So it has a deluxe reverbish sound, like Fender sound, which will, in the same way that Line 6 will, allow you to use your mid control to go all the way to tweed. It has a Vox-ish sound, right? Which can get kind of into like matchless territory. It can get like a little gainier than a typical Vox. And actually, I take issue with their thing about, it's gainier than your regular Vox. They're like, it's like at 3 o'clock or whatever, it's like a Vox. And then he plays it. I'm like, dude, Voxes get gainier than that. Like, I don't know where you're at, dude, but I've heard Voxes with a lot more gain than that stock. So that aside, and then the 3rd channel is a Marshall Plexi-esque sound, which goes into like hot rod territory if you turn the gain all the way up. Now, typical Strymon fashion, it's in a small enclosure, requires special power. It's an expensive pedal at $400. It has cabinet modeling, IR-based cabinet modeling, which you can load your own IRs. It comes with 3 IRs preloaded. And it has a room control, which allows you to blend in this like fancy IR-based room reverb, which is cool. My Kemper allows me to do a similar thing when I'm using headphones and whatever. So, and I think I can even do that on the speaker outs or whatever. But I just don't mess with it because like I want to hear the amp dry because I'm tweaking for like a venue. I don't want to hear anything extra that I'm not going to have turned on in the venue. But for this pedal, it might be useful. I actually like the concept of what they did, which is a very simple modeler and meant to go at the end of a pedal board, direct to a PA. What I don't like is they did it for $400. What were they thinking? Like all of the Strymon big box pedals are like 300-ish, right? 350. They go on the used market for like $25 less than new, which is pretty insane. And it's all hype, in my opinion, because there are great quality offerings that do very similar things from other manufacturers. We'll talk about that later, too. But anyway, they launched these 2 videos, the 2 that I watched anyway, and there might be a 3rd one.
We are now prepared for the hate mail from all of the...
I don't hate Strymon. I just don't like. I just don't have any desire to get in bed with a digital pedal company that's producing pedals where we are paying the development costs 10 years after the pedal debuts. That's craziness.
Yeah. They should have come down in price.
Yeah. I mean, I know that there's obviously a value, and the value is what people are willing to pay for it. But you guys, you're speculating. You're speculating. You're causing the price of the stuff to stay expensive.
And it's not like it's rare.
No,
it's not like you can't just go to Sweetwater or Guitar Center and order one. I can't tell you how many people that just cruising around the local music scene, I've seen they've got like 3 Strymon pedals on their board. And you're going, it's harder to buy a classic vibe.
Guitar Center isn't even a dealer Strymon, right? Am I correct in that? They don't deal Strymon?
I don't think so, no.
But they have them because they'll be in the used bins all the time. I mean, they don't stay there very long, but they're in there. So here's the thing. That's kind of my diatribe against the Strymon like cult, right? Because it's a cult. That's what it is. There are
Sweetwater does sell them.
Not everybody's in the cult that uses Strymon pedals, but there are a lot of people who are in the cult, and those are the guys that have got like the Timeline, the Big Sky, and the whatever the modulation pedal is, the big box modulation, right? So here's the thing. If this had been a big box pedal with a couple more models in it and maybe some fancier reverbs or something, I think the price point of like $450 would have been reasonable. It's got 3 models in it. I mean, come on. I can buy several different modelers from several different companies that will give me the functionality that this does. One of them being
for a little bit more money.
One of them being Atomic.
Mine's next.
Atomic did it years ago. They had the same concept.
Yeah, Atomic did.
And I'm looking at their stuff right now, like really hard, because I'm like, for open mics, I could just put that looper on the same board. And that may be that at some point, if I get a used deal on one, like that's the thing I do. But right now, I mean, I'm not really in the amp modeling game, but I will tell you this much: I've heard these video clips that Strymon put out. Now, the one they did with their sound engineer, the guy that helps design their pedals, I guess, or their marketing guy. I don't know what exactly his capacity is. I listened to it and I was like, "There's nothing here that's really special," right? And that was my gut reaction to the pedal, and that's when I posted in the group because I watched that video and I was like, "There's nothing really special going on here. Why is this $400?"
Yep.
And then about an hour later, I saw that there was another video, and it was them and like, I don't know whether it was like their beta group or people from Strymon showing how they're using it. And it was pathetic. That video was awful. Well, who over there in their marketing department was like, let's greenlight this shit? Like, I know we're trying to like get away from swearing on this show, but like, that's honestly, that's the way I feel about this. If you go look, I mean, there's a part of that video, and I think it's like 4 minutes in. You don't have to watch the whole thing. It's like 30 minutes long. It's a really long video. Because it's like, little 15-second or 20-second vignettes. But there's a part in there where they bring out the Strymon Sunset, and they have it plugged into the Iridium. And then when they engage the Sunset, it just sounds like ass. Like it sounded horrible. I was like, what are they doing? Why would they show us this? This is the worst possible thing you could do.
Who was another company that did that? I was like, why would you have included this? Is the worst tone I've ever heard in my entire life.
To be fair, Zvex has done this, right? But Zvex does it and Zvex does it and it supports their brand. So when you see like the Fuzz Factory video and they're like, it does all sorts of wild and crazy stuff. And then they show you like the gate knob and like squealing stuff and things are blowing up, you kind of expect that from Zvex. And if you don't, like, that's kind of the charm of that pedal is it's totally out of control. Strymon has never delivered a pedal with that kind of attitude behind it. And these aren't hilarious situations. They're billing this stuff as like, oh, this sounds great. And because they really like, it would be great if they went on Twitter and they said, hey, everybody send us videos of you using the Iridium and show us your tone. And then they spliced a bunch of them together and put them on YouTube. That would be great viral marketing, right? Like that would be really cool. But no, that's not what they did. They put their seal of approval on it as in we're producing this video and therefore we're putting our rubber stamp on it. This is great. And this is how we think you should use the Iridium. So I saw Ryan Burke got one from 60 Cycle Hum. And
I haven't watched that video.
He did his live stream yet. Don't bother with his live stream because it's not him. The audio quality is like because it's a live stream, and he's basically just plugging it directly into his sound card and showing what it can do. And actually, I would say his live stream is quite a bit better than some of the other tonal clips I've seen from Strymon, right? But it's like you can tell that it's it's bad audio quality and stuff. And he likes it. He thinks, hats off to him. And you know what? He's probably not in the minority. I think it's probably pretty good. You can't ask $400 for a piece of crap product. If you do, you will be the laughing stock of the community and everybody will turn on you. Even if you're Strymon, it doesn't matter. So I kind of think this is going to be a decent thing. I just don't think it's for me. And I don't think it's for a lot of people. Because if you're budget conscious, which the way I look at it is like most of the people who need a pedal builder to amplifier these days, like something to do that, they're kind of budget conscious because they want convenience And that's more important than, because they probably got amps, right? Or they've got modelers.
Yeah. I got to say something about the Strymon Iridium and the Blue Guitar Amp 1 Iridium. They also both went with a black.
Yeah. Yes. That's why I'm saying he has a pretty strong case against them at this point.
I just thought it was funny that they went with a black pedal. He's got a black edition.
I really want to talk about the Strymon or the Amp 1 Iridium at the end of this too, because that thing is cool. So, all right. Strymon, fine. Great. Do this. I saw the Sweetwater video after I posted my comments in the Facebook group. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, please do it. Lots of cool stuff goes down there. I saw the Sweetwater video. The Sweetwater video made the thing sound pretty good. And at the end of the video, they even put a tube screamer in front of it, and it didn't sound like dog turds. So I'm going to go try it. Like, which means I'm probably going to have to go to Chicago Music Exchange, which I don't really like going there. It's a pain in the ass to get to. But I do want to try it. I want to try it for our show listeners. I want to add it to our list of modeling stuff that we have in their announcements on our Facebook page, and kind of get an idea. This is opening the floodgates for a new generation of product, though. So Atomic does it. Atomic's kind of a B-list product company. Strymon does it. That's an A-list company. Now other companies are going to look at Strymon and go, crap, we have a hole in our product line because we need to provide something like this.
So this is what I see. This is from, and of course I don't have one, but I see a pedal with the footprint of their typical drive pedals,
which is great,
before they came out with the big one. So it's small. Yep. It looks like it takes up about a pedal and a half size of real space. It goes for simple but effective. 3 amps, 9 on board
9 IRs. Right.
That's a good one. It's got a built-in reverb. That's a good idea. The only thing I wonder is if you're looking to, because I can see this for someone who wants to make a smaller pedal board, right?
Yes.
But what I don't understand is if you're looking to make your pedal board that size, and why wouldn't you go with Line 6's stump?
The only difference is $200.
Because they both will do MIDI. Because I know that we had one user who said it's kind of the what do you call it? The ecosystem. And
there really isn't an ecosystem
MIDI,
there. MIDI is not their product.
No, and that's just it. And Strymon doesn't really have an ecosystem.
No, the big billing for their product is that they're modular. I mean, that's why people buy discrete pedals, because they're modular. If you don't like the phaser over there, you can go put something else in there, So when you're building your board, you're essentially building a modeling device. You're just doing it with discrete components in an analog domain.
And I know that Ryan had tried it, and he said that he tried it he had taken it to church or something.
I asked him in the video, and I'm sure he's going to address it, but I asked him in the video, I said, have you compared this with the HX Stomp yet? And he said, no. And then briefly thereafter, he said, there might be a video about that later, because he knows people are asking for it, So I granted, I don't expect the Stomp to be better at the 3 amps that are in there. It might be, okay? But I think that the Stomp is far more versatile for the extra $200 than what the Iridium does. Now, here's the problem I have with these people, not these people. Look, I'm not singling out the people that got involved in the discussion in the Facebook group. Your opinion is totally valid. We love having you as listeners of the show. We love having you in our group. But I've heard other people tell me, well, Line 6 makes crap. If you are 3 years into the Helix thing and you still think Line 6 is making crap, look around you. Look at the people who are using them. Okay? you're going to find that there are very professional people who do not want to say they are using it. And that's a good sign that, hey, this thing is disrupting kind of the workflow of, modern professional musicians, right? Some people with very famous, very lucrative deals with companies like Friedman are using the HX stuff, the Helix stuff, right? And I'm not talking about the HX effects. Billy Corgan, huge devotee of doing things like the analog right way, where possible, using amplifiers on stage, etc. He has started using the Helix. Now, apparently, he's only using the effects in it. That's what they want you to believe. But his guitar player is using the Helix full time. One of his guitar, I don't think it was James E. Hop, but the point is, this thing is a professional level modeler, and the same models that are in it are in the HX Stomp. Now, I know that one of our show listeners, I believe it's Jason Fuzzmonger, right? He's got an HX Stomp, and he was talking about the bypass in the Helix. Look, it's not an analog bypass system. The HX Effects isn't, and I don't think the big guy is either, which is one of the reasons I didn't like mine. But that was because I still wanted to shoehorn in external gear. I think the only reason that the loops exist on Helix, and people are probably going to sound off about this, was a come on to get people to buy it. And then once you buy it and you start using it, you realize you don't need them. And they knew that the modeling quality was good enough that people would be like, I really don't even need to use these. I'll just use what's built in. So I look at this whole, HX Effects or HX Stomp versus Iridium, not HX Effects because it only has effects in it, versus Iridium thing. And I think, well, yeah, there is the price difference, right? If you're looking for a budget modeler and you just want amps, right? Maybe the Iridium's your bag. There's a lot of other products out there. The Moore, what do they call it? The micro preamps. Those are like $99. You can get 3 channels for $300. Separate reverbs, IR based, right? I don't think you can load IRs on those, but point is, it's supposed to have a good one to begin with. If you could live with that, you could even do those 3 pedals and then buy the Moore radar, right? Which is IR and power amp modeling in the same little stomp box, right? And I know people are like poo-pooing that thing, but that sounds pretty good. I'll be honest with you. I've heard it, and I was like, what? So I don't know. I just don't. I think this product is 3 years too late. I think their marketing campaign reeks of they don't really know what they're doing when they market stuff. Because my old adage is, if you really care about your product, you're not going to put out something that sounds like crap. And we've all remember back in the day, before YouTube really took off, when you'd hear these clips on some manufacturer's website and you'd be like, why would somebody buy this? And it was like, they didn't really know how to put the clips up, but they knew they needed them kind of deal. But that was, the people who took the time to really do it, generally their stuff sounded better, right? So I think Strymon is still learning. For the record, I really like the Strymon Volante. I think that's a really cool design. I was hoping, because I heard rumblings of Strymon's come out with something new. I was hoping they'd do something a little bit more like, hey, do you remember that one old effect that everybody looks for that, we're going to nail it completely, do the same thing they did with the Volante and then go beyond it. But no, it seems like they've made a utility item that's like 3 years too late to market or 4 years too late. This product would have been a smash success if it came out before the Riverside. It would have been. This product would have been a smash success if it came out before the Atomic Amplifier or Firebox. It would have been a smash success if it came out before any of the Helix product line. But it's too late. And I'm not holding my breath. I've heard people saying, well, it may have a new DSP in it. I'm not holding my breath. This is in the same enclosure. I bet you they're using the same processing power they're using their other pedals. But again, they're software development in-house, right? Like they know how to write for this thing. So they can make it do all sorts of stuff. And they know the platform really well. And maybe that's why they waited. But the other strange comparison I want to make with Line 6, it has the same amp modeling controls that the Line 6 stuff do. It's like the AC30, they added the mid control, right? And then put it in as a cut. The Fender has the mid control that controls, whether it's like a tweed or like blackface. And so here's why I want to point this out. We all know, if you didn't know, you're going to know now, Strymon is the old Line 6 guys. So this is kind of like them getting back to what they did, 20 years ago. And I just don't feel like I don't have a lot of confidence they're doing it any better. And so I'll have to play it, and I'll let everybody know. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Now, yeah.
All right, so I'm taking another look at it because I've been reading it while you've been doing it. Plus, I've been sneezing, folks, and so I've been on mute because I've just had a sneezing fit that lasted like
it was pretty funny.
a minute and a half.
It was
he's over there laughing at me.
Crack up.
I'm standing here to
have a serious conversation about Strymon.
Yeah, I didn't take any allergy medicine in the last 2 days, and that I'm feeling it. Anyway, so I'm looking at where it says 9 onboard speaker cabs.
They didn't seem like good choices to me.
But this is the thing I have with it. So you really only have 3 amps with 3 IRs each. That's what you really have. So even though I just find it a little false advertising.
There's not 9 IRs.
You've got 9 IRs.
3 IRs.
There's 3 IRs per amp. And each one, for some reason, okay, so you've got...
I can't put the Marshall through the Fender Deluxe cab.
Right. You've got, you can go, all right, so you can say the amp is round, and then you can put it in the own hammer. You can put it in the what is it? The open back Fender combo. I can't speak tonight. Open back Fender combo with a Jensen, or the open
the
back.
round is the black black bass, but you can't select all of the 9 miles. Only 3. That's my point.
And that's the thing. And then if you go to Chime, then you get the own hammer and a Celestian and a Valhalla. And then if you go to Punch, you get an own hammer, a Celestian, and then the closed back Marshall. The only one that has the Marshall option is Punch. You can't do the Marshall with round.
There's some serious.
So, I don't know. So the reason I did that because I was looking to see, okay, does it maybe using USB for control or something? But
all right, I have some experience with these IRs because I'm looking to see who they were provided by. Right, I have the Deluxe Reverb 1x12 by Own Hammer. I have that library.
You have the Own Hammer, yeah,
and it's good. They're good. I have the GNR 412 by Own Hammer. I love that cab. Those IRs are great. But I guess we'll revisit that in a minute. But there's some like questionable stuff here. Like the Mesa 4x12 for the AC30 over like greenbacks. Like what? They don't have a greenback AC30. They have a Mesa 4x12 with Black Shadow C90s. What were they thinking? I
don't know. I'm still trying to figure out why can't you mix and match cabs?
I don't want to. I also don't know. All right, how many cabs can you load in the? Because they got the Impulse Manager. Are you limited to the 9 slots, or can you like load an infinite number of? You know what I mean? Like, how many slots? How many possible cabs can you put in here? They're not. They're just not doing a good job marketing this thing. Those are important questions. And I know people are like, oh, well, you really don't use like 3 cabs anyway. No, I use like 7 or 8 different IRs frequently, right? And then I got like 10 or 12 there on standby that I go to every once in a while. So, I mean, 9 is not a lot. And 3 per amp is not a lot.
Right, and it says you can add and edit. So I can only add and edit 3? Or can I add and edit 9, but then I have to attach them to the 3 in one way, like they do. And then there's the other thing. It says 300. 300? I don't see 300 possibilities on this thing. It says 300 favorites. You can also save and access a full set's worth of presets by inserting a Strymon DIN to TRS MIDI cable, which I understand, into the Expression MIDI and connecting the MIDI controller. Take it from a guitarist at Sweetwater if you're searching for meticulously modeled amp tones in particular or a familiar format. You can trust trust your setup to Strymon Iridium. So I'm just trying to figure out, where would I get 300 presets? Would I like have round A, cab A with one thing like slightly here and then slightly more here? And then, I mean, 300 favorites? I'm just finding that as a little bit overblown. And just to say you can do it.
All right, and I'm gonna back up because there's some other things here that I was like really questioning when I saw this thing. So the 9 stereo IR cabs, right? They're billing it. Oh, these are the best sounding IRs in any hardware product available, right? We captured an entire 500 milliseconds of each speaker cabinet. So 5 seconds. Now think about that. Do they need to capture 5 seconds to get an accurate IR?
Well, 500 milliseconds, that's a half second.
Oh, yeah, right. Half second, not 5 seconds. But do you think they need to capture a whole half second? I mean, honestly, if this is going to sound really bad because I've talked so much crap about this dude, but you'd think this would be a selling point for Cliff from Fractal, right? Where he would be like, yeah, we got 500 milliseconds, and it's not really even what you need. You know what I mean? Like, you could get away with 150 or 200, but we did it that way because it's the best.
Yeah. Well, again, you look at, that's why I don't understand why that's such a selling point. Typically, when you buy a IR pack, 500 milliseconds is
because that's for studio. It's for studio application. So when you would put them on the Helix, you drop them in and it actually converts them.
At 300.
Yeah. But honestly, I've done a lot of IR testing, folks. I can't tell the difference between a 300 millisecond or a 200 millisecond IR and a 500 millisecond IR. I can't. No. You're not going to be able to either, especially not in the hardware product. Something's doing AD to DA conversion. No, there's no way.
Yep.
Totally think this is bunk. Adjustable room ambience, that's a cool feature. Matrix modeling process. I mean, and then they talked about what the matrix modeling process actually was, and it's basically component modeling. And from what it sounds like, it's not even like small component modeling. It's like, here's this section of an amplifier that we modeled. And that's why Line 6 has been so successful now, because they've gone down to the point where it's like, well, we've modeled the caps, like the individual caps, and we construct the circuit that way.
Right.
They got that from Yamaha. They didn't come up with that.
Yeah, of course.
But my point is, here we got Strymon doing it the old way and thinking their product's going to be better. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, look, they're going to pull out all the stops. That is one thing that we can say verbatim with Strymon. They're not going to screw around and like put subpar components in there. You're going to get your $400 in the hardware. But I just don't think the feature set's there.
Well, it does have a headphone out, so I think that's the feature set you need.
Apparently.
For the people this is aimed at. Okay. I just can't see me spending $400 on it when I could pay $600 for a stomp. And
I 100% agree with you.
I can get everything and more. And
this thing better be pretty damn good when I play it. Otherwise, there ain't no chance.
The MIDI part of it, the stomp does. I just don't get it.
It's not aimed at us.
And I can MIDI. What's his name's amp? The one you're going to get to, the Iridium,
the real
other
Iridium,
the first Iridium. And yes, it is double the money. But
I could drive a cabinet with it. You get a whole
lot more out of it. Exactly. I was just going to say, you get a whole lot more out of it. You can get the IR out, or you can drive your own cab with it.
You can't do that with the Iridium.
Just say it.
So here's my last and final thought that I want to share with our Strymon fans in the group and Strymon fans that listen to this show. Look, like if you like this and this is your jam, go for it. It doesn't fit me at all. And I think there's a lot of guitar players out there with a lot of the products that they've made don't really fit their needs. And this is going to sound awful, but it's hilarious too. Like if a pedal doesn't take a battery, that makes me kind of look away from it because at this point, I need portable. I need to be able to know that the place doesn't have good power. I can still use my pedal board.
Especially a 9-volt pedal.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a 9-volt pedal.
Well, but they suck so much juice that but
yeah, I know. It's the milliamps,
right? So, yeah, I if you enjoy Strymon, this might be your jam. If you don't, it might not be your jam. I just don't think this pedal is aimed at me, and I'll tell you why. It doesn't have a high gain channel at all. That Marshall gets mid gain at best. And yeah, I'm sure it's usable through all gain ranges. That's kind of like the Strymon thing. But come on, guys. Give me a Friedman or something. Anything. You need something modern in there. There should have been a 4th channel and it should have been like a Mesa. And it doesn't matter which Mesa it is. It's just got to be higher gain than that. Tech 21 gets it. When they put out a Tri-AC pedal like they did 15 years ago, which, by the way, is very similar to this and done in the analog domain, you got a clean channel that went from Fender to Vox. You got a dirty, and all the way from Blackface to Tweed, too, and went all dirty if you turned it up high enough. You got a Plexi channel that went all the way to JCM 800 to JCM 900 territory, and you got a 3rd channel, which was a Mesa channel, California channel, which was Mark Rectifier, right? Higher gain. And they got it. Why can't they? Like, how many 3-channel amps that you buy today where you look at the amp and you go, man, this amp has 3 clean channels or 3 mildly dirty channels? I mean, if somebody told me, hey, this amp does the same thing on all 3 channels, I would just look at him and I'd be like, why? I had that reaction when the Fillmore came out. Because I'm like, why? Just why? I mean, I get it now. I played one, but in this case, that's like a super specific thing too. As far as I'm concerned, the Fillmore could have been 1 channel, and it would still be freaking awesome. But I just don't see the appeal here, and so that's why I'm leaving this in the dust. We're gonna talk about the Amp 1. Let me take a hit from my inhaler. Why don't you talk about the specs?
Yeah, so the Amp 1 Iridium. 1 second, let me grab the specs here because I can.
It's black.
It's black, and it's got all those channels and more. So let me grab this thing. Here we go. All right, so the Blue Guitar Amp 1 Iridium is a 4-channel, 100
monster
power amp. 4 channels. You can also buy a sticking to your ecosystem. You can buy
there's an ecosystem like no other over there.
You have an ecosystem like you can't believe here. You can get the cabs. You can get another IR loader. You can get all kinds of stuff for this little guy. But point is, it's compact. It takes up about the space of I'd say 2.5 to 3 pedals. You're going to want a little.
Weighs a pound.
It's a little bigger. Weighs a 1.5 pounds, literally. It's got the clean, vintage, classic, modern, and then for clean, vintage, clean, vintage, classic, and modern, you've got your volumes, your gains, your masters, all your controls, just like you would on a normal guitar, right? A normal guitar amp. You can drive a thing. You can send out a slave a power head, or you can send an IR to your favorite.
Yeah, it has one single IR, right? It's
PA.
not. Which
Yep, right. It's got one IR, but you can buy the IR add-on, right? But again, you can send this out to anything that has IR lowers on it, and then send that off to the PA. If you don't like the IR that's in it, you can turn the IR off, take a simple line out, and then load that and then send. So you can also put your pedals in. It's got the effects loop just like you would with any other power amp, which I don't see on the Iridium. I don't see effects loop on it.
There isn't one.
And having played, I didn't play the Iridium. I didn't own the Iridium. It wouldn't be my style of amp anyway. But having owned this, it looks or feels just like a regular tube power amp. It's an awesome.
Let's talk about the channels though, right? Fender clean to Vox clean.
Yep.
Marshall Crunch. And then this has like 2 flavors of Marshall, right? Like, so I think this one is supposed to be like Plexi to JCM 800 and then like 900 and beyond. And then it has the high gain channel that is like, I mean, honestly, you all heard cranks and stuff. It's like that. Okay. And when you put this thing through a cab, you don't know that this is not some tube head. Like, this thing sounds ridiculous.
Crazy. And I forgot to mention, every channel has an overdrive to it, or a drive. In other words, it's got each channel has 2 voices. Right. So you've really got 8 channels.
And then you can kind of fade between them. It's not like this one or this one. It's like a blend knob. But what's cool about the amp one is the fact it can drive a cab, right? Like, that's great. But that he's got 3 flavors of this product at this point, and the Iridium Edition is one that he made specifically for people who are playing brutal European metal, and they're like the amp, the regular old amp one, and the Mercury Edition's not doing it for us. He recognized the need, and he sat down with a lot of good players and came up with the Iridium, because he's not a metal guy. Like, he worked with other people to make this happen. And it shows. This thing is ridiculous. I mean, honestly, for $600, you'd be hard pressed to find a metal amp that sounds as good as it does. Is it $650? I think $650, $700. You can get it for $650. I know you can go talk to your Sweetwater rep and get a deal. But these things are. I mean, look. Admittedly, to get into their ecosystem, it's a high cost to buy in. And if you haven't heard our episode with Thomas Luke, go back and listen to it. The guy's great. It's a good episode. It's probably one of our best. Go back and listen to it, because you'll see that this guy was probably working on this when we were talking to him. He showed us some prototype stuff, and actually, there's a video of that on YouTube. So I would recommend that over the actual podcast episode. But I mean, this for me, this is right up my alley. Right? It's more expensive than the Iridium, obviously, the Strymon Iridium, but I think this is a more versatile product. And I know people are like, oh, the IR, you only get 1 IR. Listen, that sucks. But if you're going to buy this, you're going to buy the blue box to go with it.
That's right. And I was about to introduce the blue box. And the blue box doesn't have 3 IRs.
It has 12.
It doesn't have 6 IRs. It doesn't have 9 IRs. It has 12
My only complaint
IRs.
is, though, it doesn't have a loadable slot. If it had like 3 user slots where you could put your own IRs there, I'd be like all over it. Honestly, if I was buying this, I'd get the Moore Radar. I'd take the line out and run it right into the Moore Radar and go to town.
Yep. But you can do, you can move your mic position and so on and so forth. I think that, again, if you want to go, I'm just saying there is.
Absolutely.
And, I know that Strymon has an what I can't believe Strymon hasn't done, and maybe it's price point that's keeping them out of it. Maybe I don't know, because they do have their fans
MIDI switching system or something.
I'm just surprised they don't have a Helix / Kemper / whatever thing. With the introduction of this, why don't they have something that puts a few of their things? Because for $1,200, they can do that. $1,500. In reality,
Jim, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if they were to do that, like, let's say they took all the Strymon big box pedals, put them in one box. This has been something other people have suggested, right? And I'm sure Strymon's thought about it. What do they go for normally? They're $450 a piece, right? The big boxes.
Yeah, it depends on the ones that are Iridium size. No. I'm only talking about.
I'm talking about all those little ones are in the big box pedals. That's you gotta understand.
Yeah. Yeah, they go for, yeah, let's say that's what I was saying. So let's say you had $450, right? That one goes for the
Right.
Mobius strip or
So if you're
whatever,
gonna
and
build all three
the
of
Mobius
them,
strip.
in order to not piss off your existing customer base, and you add in, some other stuff, you got to be at a price point that's like $2,000+.
But that's just it. Even something like this, that $400 price point, honestly, this is my take on it. It's a little much. Is it good? I'm sure. Is it worth the money to a lot of people? I am 100% sure. Not to me, but there are people who would buy this. I'm saying that they would have sales at the $18 to
Oh, I'm sure they would.
$2,000
I'm
mark.
not disagreeing at
I'm
all.
100% sure. That's why I'm saying they could
I
do
think
it.
they believe
I mean,
that selling these little pedals at $400 or $350 a piece is more lucrative for them because they're going to sell more than they ever would if they did bigger modelers. And
right. I'm just saying there's a lot of pricing that's saved when you're putting them all into one
consider
box.
this hardware cost.
Because you're
right. We all know.
yeah.
We've talked about this on the show before. You buy a $100 stomp box. What you're paying for is the input output jacks, the labor, the switch, the boards, right? And then like maybe it, depending on what kind of board it is, if it's surface mount, there's not much labor involved, right? You're not paying for the components on the board, because I think that's the misnomer. Everybody thinks like, oh, the caps and all that stuff make, because it's, we always talk about like germanium transistors. That's expensive stuff. No, it's not. It's pennies on the dollar. I mean, we're talking a nickel and dime for some of the really high end transistors and small runs. It's infinitesimal. If you were to, let's say you want to build a tube screamer, right? It's like $15 worth of parts there, other than the jacks, the switch, the enclosure, all that stuff. So Strymon, by making these little pedals with only one tiny bit of algorithm, can get away with not having to have 10 ins and outs, program an operating system that allows you to control all this crap, which is a little bit of development cost. Development cost is nothing. That's the other thing as well. Once they make that, all they're doing is recouping on that for after they've done it once. Right. It's way better business proposition than building analog pedals, where you actually have to provide components to make them work and get these source these boards from somewhere so you can assemble them, right? So I mean, I would much rather be in a digital pedal company like Strymon, because it's mostly gravy. But I think they kind of look at it and they go, we already have this enclosure. I don't have to design a new one. I don't have to do all this other stuff, the legwork to build this bigger thing. And
that's true. That's
and
true.
We're
I'll
giving
give
it
you
the
that.
same price for the individual units. What other company on earth can sell a single delay pedal for $350? That's nuts.
Boss.
Digital delay pedal for $350. Single. Boss doesn't sell a delay pedal for $350 that's single delay pedal. They sell the DD500.
No, it's not a single delay. Yes,
that's not a single delay. That's like 10 delay pedals. And you can run two at once.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm like sitting here going, I just don't understand this. Like,
yeah,
it's boutique. I get it.
I
mean, the only reason that they're as expensive as they are, it has nothing to do with the cost of the manufacturing, the development. It has everything to do with exclusivity and the fact that people like them, right? It has nothing. Yeah. I mean, honestly, if Strymon, let's say Strymon strangles a bunch of puppies on their YouTube channel, and so everybody's like, I'm never buying a Strymon pedal again, their value goes through the floor, right? And they could still produce pedals at $70 or $80 a pop and still make money. I mean, because they've already designed all these pedals. They've recouped the design cost already. There's no way they're spending, $20 million to make a pedal or something. And the quantity that they produce these things, it's got to be in the, I know people think that like pedal builders make hundreds of thousands of a given pedal, right? That's Boss numbers. That's not Earthquaker Devices numbers. Okay. And I think Strymon's somewhere in between, right? They're not making 500,000 timelines. There might be 20,000 out there now at this point. Maybe. I mean, because that pedal's been around for 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
And remember, a lot of people are buying them used. So if there's a lot of used sales, there may not be that many new ones out there. It's a strange thing to think about, and I just kind of wanted to like get people to wrap their head around the numbers and all of that stuff that drives that kind of conversation. So the Iridium from Amp One, I want to kind of close out the discussion and then move on to something else. I think it's a lot more justifiable to buy an amp for $650 to $750 than it is to buy a modeling device. You were talking about like a Strymon making a big modeling device. I think it's got to be more than a Kemper, and I think the distinction there is that the Kemper and even the Axe Effects thing, to an extent, like offer a lot more for what you pay for than what you're going to get from like a Strymon. It's basically something that includes all the Strymon stuff ever made, right? It would have to have additional features and functionality that they don't have in their existing product line, which then begs the question: how do they not cannibalize their own sales? I mean, Line 6 deals with that all the time. In fact, I've heard that that's part of the reason why Line 6 nixed their like compact pedal line, because they were cannibalizing the sales of the four pedal stomp units, the DL4 and stuff like that. And then they, of course, came out with the M series, and that's basically signaled the end of their stomp box asphyxiation thing, where they were all affixed on making those tone core things, which I thought that was a cool idea. I would have rather had Line 6 go that route, because then when you when you bought a stinky effect, like you just weren't gonna buy it again. So I don't know. I think Strymon, look, they make a good product. I'm sure they make. You've had the Riverside, you liked it. I think they make good stuff. I just don't think this is good. And I think if I was going to do it, I would go for the Iridium. I'd pay twice as much to get the just because it has high gain. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm a utility player for a lot of this stuff, and that means that I have to be able to click all the boxes. And Strymon doesn't click all the boxes all the time. A lot of times it scratches a very small itch. And I think Strymon understands their market very well. I think this is going to sell really well in praise and worship circles, and that's where I see most of this stuff. So it is what it is. Man.
Yeah.
So there was another topic I wanted to talk about, and I can't remember what it is offhand.
Well, I wanted to go to something that we kind of, I don't know if we glossed over, if we missed it or whatever, but Boss has a new series as well in this kind of thing. The whole DD series, the 200 series. So you got the DD 200 and the
Model 200 and the EQ.
RV2, yeah. And so I was looking at Boss's thing, and I'm like, geez, so you look at your multi effects, right? And you look at like Strymon has said, okay, we're going to do ours in compact pedal form, and here's you can buy our reverb, you can buy our delay, you can buy our whatever. Boss has kind of gone to that, and that whole 200 series is kind of interesting.
I think the 200 series is I think the price point's a little steep for what it is, but I think the product there is really solid, and I think they made some good choices in how they developed that product line. They realized that not everybody needs 100 presets of delay for the DD500, right? And so they distilled it down into a smaller unit. Brilliant. I just think the price is like $20 too much. And that's honestly, it's a little price difference. It's not like $100 too much or $200 too much.
But you could $20 too much. Anybody, like you said before, anybody could call their
and negotiate and get or trade in a pedal and get 10% off or whatever you got to do to beg, borrow, and steal and get in one of these.
Right, you could get into that thing close.
Even the looper they did is pretty cool. Being able to have 2 channels of looping, so you can have a verse chorus thing.
Yeah, that new looper.
That thing was cool, but I was like, man, why the hell couldn't you have added a bridge? Verse, chorus, and bridge.
I know, right?
I don't know how many songs I played that don't have 2 parts, but have 3 parts.
3. Every pop song that you can think of. It probably, I'm not talking about everyone, but most of them, except for pop punk, has a freaking bridge. Give us 3 loops, people. Come on.
I know.
Come
on.
I do not have to spend $500 to get a
Boss
pedal.
totally acknowledged with that
Because
pedal, though, that they know what people are doing, which is they're preloading backing tracks and playing them back like I am.
That's right. And that is where they really
So I
went
think
to.
there's going to be another product.
So
I think there's going to be
I do too.
a RC 500,
You need a bridge.
which will be in a
Yeah.
500 series enclosure with 3 parts,
Yep.
so that you can play back each section of a song. And when that happens, I'll probably sell my RC3 and get that. But I mean, it's the only missing thing in their 500 lineup, so it would make sense.
Right.
Now, boss, so those are great.
I'm just saying, I thought about, because I'm kind of a Boss fanboy in a lot of ways, but I was like, wow, you could just go 1, 2, 3, $750. I could get them probably, $675, and I could probably get that down to less than 200 apiece, and I could get what is essentially a multi-effects board, then have my
I don't think, honestly, I know I said they're too expensive. I don't think they're like I want to make it very clear. I don't think they're out of the realm of affordability for what they are. It's like a typical delay pedal with the kind of settings you're going to get on the DD200 or whatever it is, 300. The typical price of that's going to be about $180, for just like a flashback or something like that. This has got more modes, and more features. So $220, it's doable. I mean,
I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad at all. And I look at it and I go, wow. I mean, because you know me, I'm on the fence about, am I going to go Helix? Am I going to go Kemper? And it's really because I'm a pop music guy. So that's why I'm still on that fence. The reason I want to go Kemper isn't because I think the Helix offers less. I think Kemper, for me, actually offers more, which I know sounds weird.
The weird thing, and I wanted to talk about that for a minute because we were comparing the Strymon big box thing at the price. The reason why the Kemper is worth the $2,200 is because it offers you features you can't get not in anywhere else, like any other hardware product. Literally anywhere else. You can't build models on your desktop computer. You can't. There's no product on earth except for the Kemper, which allows you to sample your amplifier, essentially. I mean, that to me is like, okay, I'll pay $400 more for that, because the Helix is getting into $1,700 territory. I mean, and you can get about $100 off on a Kemper if you ask around. So, I mean, look, it is. As for the powered one too, by the way, 2200 without the remote. So
they came down.
Well, the $1,700 I think is the stage, and then the 1,800 is the toaster.
No,
the toaster is not cheaper than the stage.
Yeah, but they brought one of them has come down in price. Let me look to see if I can, because it was announced last week or this week. Yeah, the Kemper profiling amp was dropped in price to get it more in line with.
The profiler head is 1,800. The power head is 2,200. So that's the same price. They didn't drop them.
I don't know. I heard that there's a price drop coming. I don't know. Remember where I heard it?
Probably here on this show.
No, yeah. I just heard it from me. No, it was somewhere that they announced that they're going to be dropping the price on the unpowered profile.
Don't hold your breath. I don't think they will. Don't hold your breath, because I think honestly, if anything, they're going to phase it out completely. That product doesn't need to exist anymore. Yeah. It doesn't. Actually, I'm really glad that I bought the powered toaster, because that should exist. But now that the stage is out, the unpowered toaster doesn't need to exist really, unless you're like maybe studios that wanted his furniture. But I mean, that's a heck of a thing to keep around for like a SKU for you to keep around for a very niche idea, right? So I don't know. I look at Boss. Boss still has some holes in their product line that I really want them to fill. They need some sort of IR loader product even if it's a distortion pedal that you can just disengage the distortion and use the IR loader side of it for something else.
Yep.
Because they don't really have a direct solution that works for me. I know they're like, oh, GT 1000. I don't want all the other crap. I really don't. I just want like a amp in a box. Like, I think the Iridium actually checked that box in a really interesting way, in that there aren't really a lot of products that are just an amp in a box. I mean, there's only...
And see, honestly, that's where I could find like, if I used the Iridium, it would be because I went with the Bosses. I went with those Boss things. Then I bought the Iridium.
It's a really expensive pedal board. I mean, $650 for the 200 series or whatever, something in that ballpark, and then $400 for the Iridium. Yeah, and you won't get a deal on the Iridium. They don't negotiate. So that's $1,000 for the pedal board right there. I mean, if you were to go all Strymon, you would be at almost $2,000. So
yeah, but see, I can go all Boss and use my employee discounts.
No. But and that's fair. But I mean, just think about the average listener. Like, that's what kills me. I've seen people with the Strymon mothership that have like a PV Classic 30 behind them, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Or going into a Katana.
Oh yeah.
Well, how about the person that's using the Squire Classic
vibe into the Strymon mothership? Into like,
I mean, I can understand it if that's your guitar, that's your.
If you like it and you actually know what you're doing, that's one thing. But let's face it, we know people that that's like, well, I didn't think about it when I built my board. I just bought these pedals because they sounded cool. And then you're like, wait a minute, you have like $2,000 on your board and like $700 in the rest of your rig. Like, what are you doing?
Exactly.
That's the people that we need to give a tonal hierarchy T-shirt to.
I got to tell you. So, working at Guitar Center, I meet more and more and more people who own not just one, 6 or 7 guitars.
Yeah,
they couldn't play Smoke on the Water if their lives depended on.
Yes,
that still don't know how to change their own strings. I've met a person who owns a guitar that's worth more than my car, who doesn't know how to change his own string.
I know a guy. I'm not going to mention his name. He might be listening to the show, so I'm not trying to be down on you.
Right.
But I'd already talked to him about it at one point, right? His first guitar was a PRS SE, right? And it wasn't a standard. It was like one of the better SEs. Yep. So he paid $750 for his first guitar. Now, the guy's in his 40s. And then he turns around. He's been playing about a year, takes lessons, whatever. I've heard him play a couple times. He's not great. Like, he's still intimidated to play in a guitar store, right? Because he's like, I really don't want anybody to hear me. Right. Turns around and he buys a PRS, I believe, Core. I don't think it was an S or a CE, and I don't think it was an S2. I think he bought a Core. So this dude's been playing a year, and he's got, I don't even remember what amp he was, but I know he was looking at a Katana at one point. He's got a PRS SE and a Core. I mean, who drops $3,000 after playing a year? Especially late life player, because I'm not trying to pee on late life players, but I just feel like your gigging opportunities and the people who play late in life, they don't tend to like seek out the gigs. You know what I mean? It's like they don't have that connection to the community in that way. They're just content to play in their house, and that's cool. I mean, dude, you've been playing a year and you bought a $3,400 guitar.
Yeah.
I have a friend who can't play very well. He's got a couple guitars, but nothing expensive, you know? So.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing I want to say about being a late in life guitar player. I didn't start late in life, but I'm still a late in life guitar player. I have hanging behind me and in different places. I have a few $1,000s in stuff, and quite a bit actually, enough to pay for probably half a home. But there's a reason. I mean, some of the stuff's going to my kids, and they are in the collector market things. But anyway, so the thing that I want to say is this: that I don't begrudge a person who has a boatload of money.
You want to spend,
and wants to buy that great guitar as their first guitar. I get it. And I don't think that they should be ashamed of sucking, because that's what we all did in the beginning on their guitar. And what the only time I have a thing is when somebody will. All right, I see it in cars. Let me take it to cars, so it takes a little bit of the beating, because guitarists take everything personally, right? So I'll see somebody with a Mercedes driving down the road, and they've got a dent, or they've got a light that has been obviously broken for a long time, and you go, why don't you take care of that thing? I mean, it's a Mercedes.
It was a status thing for them.
Take care of it. Yeah, and it was a status symbol for them, and that's the only thing. I mean, again, you want to buy a status symbol? That's fine. Hey, I have an Apple Watch with a friggin'. I have no idea why I bought the one that's the cellular, because that's.
I told you.
But I could tell you why. I could tell you why, because the salesperson brought it out, and I didn't know it was the cellular one. I just signed all the stuff and left, and then I realized it was the cellular one. I'm like, I'm going to pay a restocking fee on it anyway, so.
They communicate through your phone.
No, they communicate. This one actually has its own.
I think all of the new ones do.
Nope, they have a Bluetooth version and a cellular version. Bluetooth version's about half.
Yeah, but I think it's a prior generation, isn't it?
$200 range.
Are you sure?
Nope. I got the Apple Watch 5. Yep, the Apple Watch 5, Series 5, and they got the Bluetooth version. Because I looked it up, I was like, "Oh,
I wouldn't have bought anything else." Because honestly, that's one of the features is that I don't want to carry my phone around.
Right, and that's why I bought it, so I don't have to carry the phone to the gym, and I can still bring these with me, my little Apple AirPods, and listen to music and
whatever.
Now I have everything
damn
in the
status
ecosystem,
symbols, Jim.
the Apple. I know, but it is a status symbol. But somebody said, "Yeah, and that's why you bought the." But everybody thinks that's why I bought the Apple iPhone Pro Max. I'm like, no. I know that right now a 10 is just as good as this. Today, a 10 is just as good as this. But in 4 or 5 years, this is still going to outlast the 10. And so that's that's when the higher end stuff starts to matter, is when you get towards the end of its life. But anyway, my point is, and the same thing. I'll see a person with $1,000 iPhone with a broken screen. I'm like, get your screen fixed. If you don't have the insurance, I get it. But there's 10,000 people out there that have these places that'll fix those screens for $25. Come on. Stop using a Band-Aid on your finger to fix them.
Well,
and that's where I get to with the guitars. So somebody who buys a high-end guitar, do a little research, take care of it, clean it. Oh my God, you should see some of the stuff people bring in.
Jim, that's what I was just going to tell you though, is like, that's not why I was talking about this guy with it, buying a $3,000, PRS standard or whatever, custom 24 or whatever he did. It's because they don't have the breadth of knowledge to know what they're actually buying. Like, I know people think it's a status symbol, like, oh, I got a PRS, custom but if you can't change the strings on it, or like you were talking to earlier in the show, the guy bought a Prestige Ibanez for his kid. Like, you should at least have enough knowledge to know what you're doing. I know that's controversial, because we're supposed to be like, if you have money and you want to spend it, go for it. I'm not going to begrudge you that. I'm not going to call you an idiot over it, but it's kind of stupid if you can't change the strings, or if you literally can't, play a single note. I would not encourage anyone to make that decision. You got the money and you want to do something like that, go for it. But I'm just telling you, it's not a good decision. Not because people are going to look at you poorly or whatever. And I'm intentionally being controversial here. So I think there is a standard of like reasonable credibility that people should hold themselves to before spending that kind of money on anything. That's like the guy that buys the Ferrari and then finds out that the tires are like, $1,000 a tire. And they're like, I didn't know that when I bought the car. You bought a Ferrari. Like, what did you think was going to happen? It's going to be expensive. Buying the car was expensive. Why wouldn't the maintenance be expensive? We had a local radio DJ that actually had this problem, which is why
we have a thing called personal property tax. So every year, the value of your car costs you money, and so down here, I was talking to a guy who has a relatively new car.
The poor tax.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Because he pays $900 a year in personal property tax on his car. $900 a year to own a car that may or may not even be paid off. It was a Toyota.
Oh, that's crazy.
High-end Toyota. It was
like a Supra or something like that.
Well, what do you call it? Not minivan, the SUV,
Rover, the Land Cruiser.
No, it wasn't even the big Land Cruiser. It was the littler one.
Yeah, the RAV4 is $45,000. So
I'm just saying, he pays $900 a year to own it. I just paid my car off. I'm still got to pay personal.
Do you
pay
personal property tax on your instruments?
Ridiculous.
It's only on houses.
It's only on motorhomes. No, your house is fine, but like motorhomes, cars.
All right. So you have the same deal as everybody else does. You don't pay the tax, titles, and licensing when you go to buy a car.
We still do that too.
And then they charge you annual fee.
Oh yeah,
instead of taking it out of your property or your property taxes and your income tax in your state, because that's what we do. Our income tax is way higher than yours, but you pay personal property instead. Now, I say this is the keep poor tax, but really what it is if you live in our state, we're taking money from you tax, because there are people, if you not one of them, there are people that don't have jobs that live in the state and mooch off of it. And so this ensures that if you do not own property, if you rent property, you still have a car, and we're going to get you.
Oh yeah, but if you're a homeowner, why should you be subject to that? That's what I don't get. I mean, I get it, because there are a lot of this is an area, especially, although all of Virginia lies in the personal property things. This is an area where we get a lot of migrant people, because people come in military, they come in, they don't bother buying a house because they're going to be gone in 3 years anyway. And it's like
the property tax thing they got to do regardless. I mean,
they don't vote, they don't pay state taxes, because if you're in the active duty military, you don't have to pay local state tax. You pay state tax to the state.
Well, it's interesting. I'd love to hear from our listeners if they're like any crazy states that have musical instrument taxes. I did find something out about my condominium complex as a result of my flood claim. My water damage claim. I've been told time and time again it's not a flood claim. Correct. So I found out from the association that I'm not allowed to have instruments at all. My homeowners association says no musical instruments. I can have a closet full of guns, but no musical instruments. A closet full of loaded
Listen, buddy,
guns.
if you don't put that kazoo away, we're gonna take your
honestly, I was like, what? I saw this and I was like, that makes absolutely no sense. Because I know I'm not the only musician in this complex. There's a guy in the building next door who plays an acoustic guitar in his patio all the time. I'm gonna get on the condo board and I'm gonna change this. Like this is ridiculous. What it should say, and I got to thinking. I thought about it real long and hard, and I realized what it actually means. It's not a noise ordinance thing. Okay, that's the first thing I want to dispel. My neighbors don't even know I play guitar. I've asked them. They're like, "You play guitar?"
Right.
And I play in the house all the time. They can't hear it. It's not a noise ordinance thing. This is because they don't want anybody trying to bring a grand piano up the narrow stairway into their condominium on the second, third floor. That's what this is. You can't have a grand piano in a 900 square foot condo. And you know what? Grand pianos weigh a lot. And it's probably not structurally sound for this building. That's another thing people don't understand is like, if you have a piano, like you have to sometimes you have to have them come in and actually like look at the structure and find out if you can put it where you want to put it. And so I think that's really what this is about. But then it shouldn't say musical instruments. It should say pianos or, heavy items. We do not allow, owners to have items in their house over X amount of weight or something like that. Because that makes sense. And then put a clause in there that explains why. Because that's what gets me about my homeowners association. They'll have all these rules, but they don't ever tell us why. Like, I know why in some cases because I'm not an idiot. But there are other times where it's like, why can I not have musical instruments, but I can have firearms? This doesn't make any sense. Because I could accidentally shoot my neighbor,
Right.
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 So please, in the group, let us know if you have other similar weird restrictions where you live on musical instruments, things like that. I would be really interested to hear some of these people's stories about crazy music stuff.
All right. So as we get ready to close, I want to talk about two things. So I posted and I'm not going to go into depth on this, but I posted in the group about the 35-year anniversary PRS that's coming out, PRS SE. I'm definitely going to get one.
Why?
In there,
Can I ask a question? Why?
John,
Why do you want a 35th anniversary SE?
I want one. Yeah. SE? Honestly? Because it's the Paul's Guitar SE I was going to buy anyway, but it's special edition of it, and it's the exact same price.
Paul's Guitar version. I thought it was SE 24.
Yeah, the 35th. Yeah, it's just all it is. No, the 35th anniversary. There's a bunch of them. They're not just doing one. So if you look on PRS site, yep.
Okay, so there's 3 models.
Yep. And so one's like the Paul's guitar. It's got the TCI pickups.
Yeah, I mean they're okay.
Which are balanced.
I just come on, guys. If you're gonna do a 35th anniversary guitar, make it an S2 or something.
Yeah. So, well. It's a custom. It's a custom 24 with the TCI pickups in it.
That's what I was gonna say. I thought they were all
the
custom
idea
24s
is
with just different pickups.
Yeah, right. So the idea is, well, that's really all that the Paul's guitar is. It's a custom 24 with the TCIs in it. Yeah. Well, he puts but I mean at the base of the guitar, that's what it is. I mean your tone is coming from. Let's face it, the wood, the guitar, the
only one that's limited edition is the one with the TCI S pickups, patented tremolo.
Yep.
But the thing is, the other ones have phase 3 tuners or low mass locking tuners. This one is limited production. That's that feature of this one.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yep. Actually, I thought the core.
Yep, I know.
Because they did do 3 models, but they're not all SEs, and that's what I didn't understand. So the S2 is the custom 24, and
the
then
S2 is a custom 24 with the 8515 S's, which means that it's a.
I think the best looking guitar out of the bunch, and the only one that I would be willing to spend any money on is the core.
Yeah, with the phase.
It's not the tuners, dude. That guitar is gorgeous looking. I mean that.
No, I know. It's Paul's guitar. It doesn't have. That's the thing I find interesting. It's using the 8515s, and yet it's still got the
machine tremolo,
single coil
instead of the molded tremolo. It's got the machine tremolo, and I mean, I think that color is gorgeous. I just don't see anything special in the. And the other thing I was going to point out, this is the reason why I don't even care that they're doing 35th anniversary models. Because they just did 30th anniversary models. So it's like, why bother, guys?
Oh, and that's the other thing. They're doing real abalone birds on the SE, which I know that's not the core one. But anyway, the reason I want it is because it's just Paul's guitar with a few more accoutrements and
it's
35th anniversary. I'm like, oh, yeah, I want to get that.
Yeah,
$9.99.
Like I get it, Jim. You're a PRS guy,
so I should be able to get that.
I think this is up your alley. For me, it's like as a non-PRS player, this isn't going to draw me in. This is specifically for you guys.
Nope. I don't. Yeah, and it's only one color. It's the black gold sunburst. It's only going to come. And they'll probably all have exactly the same top.
Well, I
because
thought
it's
that's
the,
what was cool about the when they did the last run, when they did the SEs, in the 30th anniversaries, is they did them in different finishes, and all the finishes looked really good.
Yeah,
Like
there's only
I
one.
didn't see a bad one out of that line. I'm sure they existed, but
Yep. The the Continental looks in. Anyway, that's not the point of what I was saying because it's just me one other guitar. But the other side of it is, so John Bott said, "Hey, let's do a meetup at the PRS Experience PRS this year." So, and I know I'm going.
I wonder how much the SE hollow body is going to be.
That's a good question. The SE hollow body.
That's one that I would be inclined to look at. Actually, I think the CE hollow body would probably be. But if I was going to get that, it's got to be around $1,700. I can't pay $2,200 for a bolt-on.
Yeah, it's $2,200 or $2,300 for a bolt-on semi-hollow.
Well, I mean, the Zach Myers is an option too. The semi-hollow Zach Myers.
And they've got a new single cut coming. It's a Santana model. So Santana fell in love with this new one, and he's like, "Okay, I want to do an SE of it," which I think is cool. It's a gold top, which is the first time they're doing gold top in a single cut. Kind of.
But yeah, so I'm like kind of looking. I want something different. I'm looking at Telecasters. We talked about that early in the episode. But if I can play country on anything. Like that's not gonna matter too much. I've been learning all this stuff, and I've been learning Danny Gatton licks and stuff over the last couple of weeks, and I'm kind of getting in the frame of mind like a Telecaster would work. I just need someone with a fixed bridge, probably, really. And if I was gonna, this isn't gonna be a beater. If I was gonna buy this is not gonna be a beater guitar. But I could do an SE hollow body, and then I could go to the PRS Experience. Yeah. I would feel like I'm welcome there. Because I've owned one.
Well, yeah, no, you don't. Yeah, I probably won't wait till the Experience to buy this particular guitar. I'll probably order it the minute we get them in stock, because I don't want to miss it out.
I would want it before I go.
But that SE hollow body,
SE Custom 22 semi-hollow looks awesome too. And I think that's probably more up my alley. I don't know, man. Like, I haven't really vibed well with the PRS body. Like, I've sat with them before, and like sometimes they feel really good, and then sometimes they feel terrible to me. So there's that. I always wanted a Mira, and now the Mira's coming back as an SE guitar, which is great. Which is what Jim, if you remember, I think it's awesome. We mentioned that early on the show. I said this guitar shouldn't be an S2; it should be an SE. But
and sure enough,
the price was too low.
It is.
Like I was like, they should have just made it an SE.
The 2020s are the new ones are really.
Jim, are you gonna have another Floyd?
With the exception
of another SE Custom 24.
No. I'm getting I'm not crazy about the Burls. The only one that's really the only two that are kind of hitting me is the SE Hollow Body 2 and the anniversary 24.
I want like
I'd get a Mira if I was you. This is the time to get a Mira.
I actually don't want a Mira. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to go for a custom something, and it'd probably be an SE custom because I don't want to spend a lot of money. But I would get I'd get one, and then I'd have somebody refinish it, and I would have it refinished in like paisley. Just hand paint paisley on. Get some paisley wallpaper, and then put it underneath the clear coat.
I could see that. Well, then
I wouldn't buy anything
crazy.
I'd just buy like the cheapest custom 22 standard, and then have them go over it. Actually, I would really rather do a semi hollow and refinish that, but I don't think they've ever done a semi hollow like crappy guitar. They're always really nice ones.
No.
So
no,
I'm not nuts enough to cover up a flame top. So
yeah. So the thing is, I'm definitely going to be at the PRS Experience PRS. That's no question about it. It's a drive for me. It's a half-day drive for me. So I'll drive up there.
Better make it Gearfest this year. Like you can't do anything. You can't do anything for a week before Gearfest. Like I'm forbidding you because there's too much potential for injury there. Yeah,
June. I know. So I'm hosting open mic tomorrow night.
Do
which
not
for our
back off
listeners is
that
in the
stage. I
past.
repeat.
Oof. Yeah, no, I don't want to hurt myself. I got 5 days of guitar study this week. I got way too much school fun stuff. I didn't think I'd like this job. I love this job. I actually love this job, and I wish it could be my day job.
We'll just
It
keep
doesn't
working at
pay
it.
me.
You'll be a regional manager
But
before you know it.
But I can tell you right now, it's so fun because there's so many things that I get to see and so many things I get to talk about. One of the guys that I work with, he said, the reason I love this job, and he's had other jobs too, and he said, I never thought I'd be in love with a job. He says, I can talk guitars all day and nobody gets bored. Nobody looks at me like, okay, you've talked about guitars too much. Go
My
away.
wife and I were talking about today because she's looking at maybe getting a second job or something, and more or less because she wants to than she has to. But like, she was talking about doing that, and I'm like, well, I was kind of thinking like, if you didn't do that, like I'd maybe go get a job at Guitar Center or something, like Jim's doing, just so I could get a discount.
Yeah.
At least do it for 9 months or whatever and see what happens.
Well, if you do well, I mean, there's a lot of
I could go work at Sweetwater. No, but anyway, if I was to go work there, like, which probably wouldn't happen anyway, because I do a lot of dreaming that never happens, and I don't have the time for it. Somebody's got to do this show. But anyway, my wife brings us up. She goes, "You wouldn't last 10 minutes," and I'm like, "Why?" And she's like, "The first time the old lady comes through buying a guitar for her grandson and doesn't understand why a $300 guitar is better than a $100 guitar and walks out with the $100 guitar, she's like, you just turn in your notice and walk out." And I'm like, it would frustrate me. But I said at the same time, like, I totally get it. There's price points. Price points exist for a reason. So notice it was not a $5,000 guitar. It was a $300 guitar. You spend about $300 when you start.
Right. I will say this. I will say that I see it. I see stuff. I'm like, I get to see the person that sits down, and I realize that's a person that's every day going to come in there just to practice.
Yeah.
They're not buying anything. They're not interested. But I still say, if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. My name is Jim. I'll be right over here. And it's like, I know the person's just going to sit there and they'll go plink, 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 plink. But you know what? They're working on it. And I give them kudos.
You should ask them for their name. You're like, yeah, you're in here all the time. I figure I might as well know who you are.
Yeah. And I introduce myself and I'm friendly with people. And, and I think I had one person come up and he's like, no, I got to work with him. He's the, I don't even get commission yet. So I'm like, no, go over there.
That's all.
If it was next month, come over here. I sold a Spider Valve Wagner
used ones, right?
212. Let me tell you,
they do sound good.
Thing's killer.
I'm not disputing that.
The guy played through it with a little $250 Jackson, and he's like, "Oh, I think it's gonna sound like crap. Spider sucks. Line 6 sucks." And I said, "Listen, I don't have firsthand experience with this, but I'm going by what my co-host said on my podcast.
Spider valves are pretty good.
Sit down and try this."
He bought it too, didn't he?
And he tried it. And he was like, he bought it. He was like, he was going to put it on layaway. I mean, he said, "Man, this thing smokes." He bought it. He bought the warranty. Dude. He bought the.
And those amps, you don't see them a lot for that reason, because they're pretty cool. But if anything goes bad in that preamp,
yeah. Well, that's why I told him to get the warranty. I said, "You want
those things are pretty cool. I actually really like those. It's one of the few things I think Line 6 has done really well in amplification." So,
yeah, and it sounded killer. It had what? Let's see, clean 12 different channels of sound, because each one has 2 voices, an orange voice and a blue voice. You can click through it. I thought it really sounded good. And that Insane one, he was on the Insane one. I thought, I guess this is going to sound like crap. This sounded really good. I was surprised. I was shocked.
I don't know about
pleasantly
the Insane setting sounding good, but the problem is not the Insane setting.
Well, no,
it's the fact that anybody who uses the Insane setting likes to put the gain at like all the way up.
Well, I had him take I said I had the gain like almost at 0. It was way down.
On them, and
I said, "You're going
to hit the dots." You were on like the second dot.
And he was afraid. He was afraid. Oh, I'm not going to be able to be heard.
It's
over
got
the band.
Val
I said,
Power
"All right,
Stage.
I probably shouldn't do this, but here you go."
Did they tell?
And I put that thing.
You work at Guitar Center. I got to ask you.
4.
Did they tell you that you can't turn stuff up in there? No, I didn't think so.
No. And also, so we had this poor kid.
You told me. Yeah, that was on last week's episode.
Orange.
Yeah. The kid that sat down and the amp was already turned all the way up. I sat in the Platinum room at the Arlington Heights location, which is not very big. It's smaller than the room I'm sitting in now. And they had a Fender Twin there, and the dude had it on like 5. It was set to stun. I was like, oh my God. And he he starts playing. I'm like, I just stood there. I was like, dude, come on. I don't have ears in. Like, I had to tell him, I was like, man, I know you got to hear this thing. I'm like, can you wait until I walk out of the room? I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I'm like, you're damaging my hearing right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't care if you damage your own,
but
don't damage
like, not me. Come on.
And so, I know we're coming up to 2 1/4. So, the last thing that I want to talk about, we had an interesting story that there was a kid that came in that wanted to try. We had a in the Platinum room. We have a guitar that's personally signed by Paul McCartney, and this kid's a huge
Beatles nut.
No, Beatles nut. I didn't get it muted. I'm sorry.
It's going to be compressed anyway.
Anyway, huge Beatles nut, and he literally went to tears playing on the guitar. It was one of the most. It's a precious moment because you get to sit a kid down. This kid isn't 16 years old yet. I don't think he's 16, and playing his hero's, signature guitar, and it was. And I mean, when I say signature, I mean personally signed by Paul McCartney. Not.
That stuff kills me though, because
it was really nice.
Paul's not dead. You can still meet him. Like, that's what I told the kid. The kid be like crying, be like, "This is so amazing," and I'd be like, "He's not dead. Like, you could meet this dude still. Like, get on the plane. Like, make it happen."
Well, he's one of these. I'm starting to open his horizons because he's one of those kids that are still like starstruck by these people. I said, they still put their pants on at the same time. I'm going to start introducing you to people, and you're going to find out that they're just people. They're wonderful people. Some of them are awful. They're rotten. Just like regular people, some of them are terrible and some of them are nice. And I said, and you've got to decide what is nice or not, on your level. But he's going to England. His dad is taking him to England to walk
right.
the Abbey Road thing and to get a picture and all the other stuff. And so I think they might purchase it. So, but he wants to wait until I have my thing, my commission. That's a big commission. That's a big one.
Yeah, put it on layaway. I'll put it in the back room.
Yep.
All right, man. I have been David.
I've been Jim.
And tonight we've been Practical Guitarists.
Yep.